I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Stillwater Planning Commission this Tuesday, September 2nd, 2014. First item on the agenda is land use items for discussion and possible action. Item A, the Heinrichs Family Trust Map Amendment PZ.14.1850, requesting review and approval to rezone property addressed as 1615 West 12th Avenue from RSS and A, residential single-family small lot and agriculture, to O office district. Mr. Coots.
Tom Coots, Development Services. So this property is about 65 acres in size. It's located along 12th Avenue, near kind of near Western and next to Copper Creek. As I said, the property is mostly zoned agricultural, with a portion of it zoned RSS, residential small lot single family. The application is to rezone it to the office district. They're asking to rezone down to basically the center line of Stillwater Creek. The property is mostly floodplain. The floodway is the southern portion down here. And then up here, this next tier is the 100-year floodplain. And then this area along the fringe is the fringe flooding area, the 500-year floodplain. But one could build in these areas outside the floodplain and in this fringe area. One could, if somebody wanted to develop it and do the studies and provide the compensatory storage and whatnot, in theory, someone could build in this area in the 100-year floodplain. And then one cannot do anything in the 500-year, or no, in the floodway down here. Just to give an example for how much of the property could likely be developed. Over here is Copper Creek, and you notice they had a bunch of floodway on it, and then they had some floodplain, and notice they only were able to develop they only chose to develop in a portion of the floodplain. And then SMC property, Stillwater Medical Center, with their proposed South Campus over here, they also had the same type of situation, and they were able to develop about a quarter of the 100-year floodplain. So it just gives you an idea of what really is sort of feasible on the property. Staff findings include the request is consistent with, going around the surrounding properties. To the north is RSS, residential small lot single family. To the east, also RSS and some RTM, residential two family and multifamily, and some agricultural. The south is agriculture, and the west is zoned public. There is some office in the vicinity along the frontage of 12th here in Copper Creek, and then the SMC property on down on 12th Avenue. Staff findings include that the request is consistent with the C3 plan. It proposed that the frontage along 12th Avenue should be some sort of commercial, and then any remainder of the property, if developable, could be residential. There is office zoning located in the vicinity, and should the property be developed, it must meet the floodplain regulations. And do we have any questions for me?
Thank you, Tom. This is a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing now and ask if there is anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this request. Please state your name and address.
Roger Ghost, 113 East State, on behalf of the applicant. We've looked at this, and we feel that there's probably about 10 to 14 acres net usable just right up in here by doing some compensatory fill. And y'all have that map in here? Nope. Huh? Who, me? Okay. This area right up in here. This is what we plan on developing. We've already run some studies, and that's about all we can get out of there without affecting the floodplain. The one issue I have sort of with the report on the accept alternatives, accept findings, recommend the commission approve the proposed map amendment, except not rezoning that portion of the property within the designated floodway. I really don't understand why that's in there, because you can't use it. I mean, you just flat can't use the floodway. And right over here,
And there shouldn't be any problems with not rezoning if you can't use it.
yes, Mike, but it's a little hard.
Real clear,
But it's a little hard to define what is the floodway. And the land to the east has RTM. All of that floodway over there has been rezoned RTM. And the floodway changes. That's one of the things that we've discussed. And I mean, if we can figure out where to put that line, we can write another legal description, but we don't have a legal description for the floodway at this point. That's my only. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and ask for staff's alternatives.
Okay. As Roger spoke of, we can accept staff findings and recommend that the City Council approve the proposed map amendment, except not rezoning the portion of the property within the designated floodway. Find that the map amendment is not an appropriate use for the property based on the impacts to the surrounding vicinity, and not recommend that the City Council approve the map amendment. Find that additional information or discussion is needed prior to making a recommendation, and table the request to a certain date. Do we have any questions for me?
Tom, what defines the floodway? When we say that within the designated floodway, what is that a line in the sand, if you will, or what defines that? And does it stay defined, or is it at the time it's approved, or
Yeah.
tell me how that works?
From what I understand, and Paula will probably jump up if I go off course.
There she comes.
Basically, it's defined by FEMA. They would have designated an elevation that matches a contour on the ground that would below that elevation, or at that elevation and below, would be in the floodway, and so it's defined by FEMA. So it's based on how the property actually sits and a lot of other things. And then, would it change? I would say that it would change if the way the ordinance is written, if we don't settle on a legal description, and that if someday
would change if FEMA did a new study.
if that's what I was going to say, if someday there was some sort of study and the floodway was moved one way or the other, if the ordinance read this legal description for the entire property less that in the designated floodway, it would change along with the floodway change.
Well, or it would change if the developer did a study and requested for a change. They could request a letter of map change and get the floodway moved through their own,
Yeah.
vices.
What's the reasoning behind excluding that portion from the rezone?
Staff policy in the past has been to not rezone the portions in the floodway because, as was hinted, they're not usable anyway. Of course, as was also stated, the floodplain regulations also state that they're not usable.
And it clearly on the public record says you can't develop it. And the
Right.
floodway is so important to keep open. And so many communities do the exact same thing of not rezoning that floodway because they've had challenges with people going in there and doing things. And if it's not zoned for it, it's real clear. So as you can tell by my language, I am very strong that this area not be rezoned.
Okay, any other questions for me?
Any other questions for Tom? Thank you. Well, planning commissioners, any further discussion or comments?
I'll move that we accept findings and recommend the city council approve the proposed map amendment, except not rezoning the portion of property within the designated floodway.
I second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, let's vote. That is approved with 5 votes yes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular meeting summary of August 19th, 2014.
Yeah, something didn't come up right there. There's 6 of us.
Oh. Well, yeah, you're right.
Let's see if I can.
I was so used to there only being 5 of us. Got more people than I.
I'm not necessarily sure how to back it.
Let's take a
Maybe do a verbal
Verbal vote. Yeah.
So you'd call the roll, please?
David Barth,
Yes.
Mike Buchert,
Yes.
Dusty Lane,
Yes.
Josh Marler,
Yes.
Lori Crosby.
Yes.
I'm glad you noticed that, Commissioner Lane.
No worries.
All right, like I said, the next item on the agenda is approval of the regular meeting summary of August 19th, 2014.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote.
Did right then.
Something's not going right there.
Yeah, we have 6 total.
Oh, okay. Somebody
It's
abstained?
Lori.
Oh, okay. All right, great.
That's correct.
It does get approved with 5 votes yes. The next item on the agenda is just the announcement of the next Planning Commission meeting, which is September 16th, 2014. And if there's nothing else, the chair would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move to adjourn.
Second.
Let's vote. And we are adjourned.